In 1982, the world saw the first, well, we think of as the first hacker movie and one of the first computer-generated movies ever, Tron. Let's take a look at a clip real quick.
Got a pirate program here. Says his name's Clue.
What did it pull?
Came into the system with a stolen password. And we caught him trying to raid a high-clearance memory.
No! I must have gotten in there by mistake.
Who programmed you?
I was
All right, joining us via satellite from Los Angeles is the writer and director of Tron, Stephen Lisberger. Stephen, thank you for coming on the show. Stephen, can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm not getting any audio.
Aha. All right, folks, we're going to come right back to that in just a second. In the meantime, in case you're not familiar with Tron, it's a great saga of a computer. Well, a man trying to break into a system and release his computer. One of the first really powerful special effects we saw generated by a computer. Can you hear the audio now, Stephen?
Yeah. No,
right.
I'm hearing you, but I'm not getting the audio.
Okay. If you can hear me, we're in good shape. So Tron's just been re-released in DVDs, a 20th anniversary collector's edition. 20 years ago, did you think the movie would ever be as popular as it's become?
No. I was just trying to get through completing the film at the time.
So Tron was one of the first movies about computers. Was there any concern that people wouldn't be that interested in the topic?
It wasn't so much that. It was that people at the time were terrified of computers. You know, that was the era when everybody thought every computer was going to be like HAL. And in a way, they were right. I mean, that was the era of the mainframe. PCs didn't exist.
Mm-hmm. So why was the decision, we've been curious about this for a while. You used computer graphics on that. Was CG a necessity to get the effects you wanted?
What happened was I became interested in CG before I became interested in cyber technology. And through studying CG, I learned a lot about the people behind computers. And they so inspired me that I wanted to write a story about what they were doing, because at the time they really were pioneers.
So I'm kind of curious, CG obviously has grown leaps and bounds and gotten a little maybe terrifying. What do you think about movies or the way CG is used today?
Well, what's funny is that we seem to get some sort of perverse kick out of taking CG and marrying the most advanced technology with the sort of most old-fashioned stories we can come up with. So we do films like Titanic and super advanced graphics, but, you know, a nice old-fashioned story, or Shrek. And it seems like we're playing a joke on the technology. We're saying, don't tell the computers that they're really doing something really cute, you know. And back when we made Tron, it was a little different. We were trying to do something cutting edge with the graphics, but we were also trying to do something very cutting edge with the characters in the arena.
Makes sense. Now, Tron was it's really one of a handful of hacker movies. You obviously picked up on the trend way, way, way before most people. Why do you think we haven't seen more movies about hackers and maybe the dark underbelly of PCs, even though we all, you know, everybody's got a computer now?
Well, I think what happened was, that's a complicated question. I mean, back in the early 80s, people were trying to figure out, you know, where the next sort of happening space was. I use the term sacred space. You know, we came out at the time of E.T. and just after Star Wars, and people were saying the arena where man has hope will be outer space, or the arena is actually the closet in your kid's room. You know, that was the E.T. thing. And it was, you know, after the 60s and 70s, people were trying to find a new area that, you know, where they would have some hope and idealism. And a lot of people were picking up on this future space as perhaps being cyberspace. And I think there was a backlash to that because people felt, you know, I don't really know technology and it scares me, so I don't necessarily want the future to involve cyberspace. But what they didn't think about was that 10-year-olds at the time, you guys now, were completely open-minded about this and felt, this is great. We've got a new frontier. We're going to go for it. And I think it's taken all this time for the arena to mature and for the audience to develop and feel comfortable with it.
Makes sense. I'm kind of curious. You mentioned that you got to, as you were investigating CG, you got to hang out with a lot of people who were hacking at the time. Did you actually get to see anybody as they were breaking into computers? Did they walk you through that, or was it something you more envisioned?
No, I never actually saw a hack in progress. One of the things that is sort of interesting is that if you there's a way to look at Tron and it almost becomes the Bill Gates story, because you know Tron's a story about a guy who takes on the mainframe computer. If he can get his software into it, he can break down the mainframe and everybody can have access. And in a way, that's what Bill Gates was doing back in 1981. He managed to get Windows into the heart of IBM, and the result was the PC was now, you know, there for everyone, and then that led to the internet. So, you know, it's funny. It's in a way that was the ultimate hack.
Now you got to be wondering whether or not Master Control Program was a big blue box or not. So,
yeah,
I got a question for you. Are we going to see a sequel? We hear rumors here and there.
Yeah, we're kicking that around. It's this is a transitional time. I like to think that in Tron, back in the idealistic days, you know, we did a story about computers bringing out the best in each of us, and the metaphor was the programs trying to reach the users, and it was about vertical communication, you know, symbolically showing, getting in touch with the best in ourselves. And what really happened over the last 20 years is that we sort of just got in touch with each other horizontally. It didn't so much connect us with some higher power as it connected us with, you know, the guy next door. And I think eventually we realized, hey, you know, there really isn't anything happening here that you know, that goes to the next level up. And in some instances, computers connected us with the next level down, if you know what I mean.
Intimately.
Yeah. So, you know, I think right now we're at this point where the dot-com bubble burst because it was all too horizontal, and we're ready for a new idealism, a new, you know, a new direction, and a new generation that's coming in after the millennium to try to, you know, revitalize this area. And so when one thinks about another Tron, one's trying to, you know, ride that zeitgeist and that transitional phase.
Wow, that could be a very intense movie, Stephen. Folks, we want to take a quick note. Disney's just released a special 20th edition DVD version of Tron, and as always, you can find out more about Tron and Stephen at his website at www.tron-movie.com. Stephen, I want to thank you so much for taking time to talk to us on the Screen
It's a
Savers.
pleasure to be here. Thank you, Patrick.
All right, folks, to find out more about how Tron was made, the obstacles it had to overcome just to get to the screen so you could see it, we've got a great article waiting for you at thescreensavers.com.